Quick little thought from a couple of things that I've watched recently, which are Good Omens, The Good Place, and part of, what's it called? Not Brideshead Revisited. The one with the mansion and the people. Downton Abbey, yeah. It's sort of sad. To me, Good Omens and The Good Place showed one aspect of how our concept of hierarchy is so broken and so sad, and it's almost always corrupt, or the way that we think of hierarchy. It's by default, whoever's in power corrupts, and they're just gonna be evil and gonna be bad. Because I guess I'm gonna spoil them. Well, not really. Just the setup. In both Good Omens and The Good Place deal with sort of the powers that be, and in a light tone, but the angels and the gods and the forces sort of behind the universe and the afterlife and all of that. And in both cases, it's sort of demons all the way up, or archons in David Bentley Hart's terms, and the inhuman, corrupt, or just inhuman and unloving and cynical, or useless beings that are just controlling everything. In The Good Place, the architects both of The Good Place and of The Bad Place are pretty inept. Or obviously The Bad Place are sadistic, and The Good Place are just inept and not good. There's no virtue in the sense of strength in them. And then in the Good Omens, it's much the same, with both the angels and the demons being basically corporate. It's just so depressing. Man, ugh. Yeah, I guess it also shines a light on how much the capitalist corporate bureaucracy kind of structure has just inundated us, till that's the only sort of hierarchy or the main sort of hierarchy that one imagines. And then anyway, redemption comes from underneath and from those who have no power, and they're sort of subverting the hierarchy, which is how it happens, in a sense. Or certainly in the context of Christianity, which is what the West is decaying from, I don't know. In that context, Christ, he comes from beneath and is the lowliest and has no power, etc. And there is that narrative of subversion from beneath, but at least in the Christian story, there is also the thing of what is beneath is also the very highest power, and that the creator and the ultimate hand that's ruling things is also good and is actually in tune with the human and the lowest people that don't have power. Or just that the one who wields the most power is also good. But that's sort of missing, at least explicitly, it's missing from both of those shows, which is sort of sad, because it's sad to think of living in that kind of world. Where power is just always bad. And anyway, an example of, or just something that I found really interesting and sort of refreshing, just because it's different from a lot of what we see portrayed, or see in real life too, is the way that the hierarchy is in Downton Abbey. Because I was sort of expecting, and honestly, I'm sure that a lot of the time it did work that way. Certainly it's what's portrayed a lot, expecting sort of a corrupt sort of thing where the person on top and the owner of the house is sort of controlling and rude, and then the servants are talking about him and scheming underneath and sort of making fun of and dissatisfied in their positions because they're subservient, etc. But in fact, it was a healthy hierarchy that was on the whole governed by love and mutual coming together to form a whole. And the proprietor of the house is really cares about it and really gives his life into the house, and protects the servants, and the servants seem like proud of their position and part of the dignity of the house. And there was one scene that I thought was very touching that was like, this is what you can do with power if you use it in the right way. And this is how the hierarchy like should work, because one of the servants had been blackmailed from like some shady character from his past, and normally that character would have been able to just extort the guy. But the master of the house finds out about it and like stands up for his servant, protects his servant using like his authority and his money, and gets the shady characters to leave him alone, and sort of takes the servant under his protection in that way. And it was really good. So sometimes the hierarchy is healthy, but not in good omens, or in the good place. But there's good shows, especially The Good Place. Like, the humor is kind of dumb, but it just gets me every time. I don't even know why. And Jason, such a good character. The Good Place is just solid, like all the way through. Heartwarming. There's a lot of heart to it, despite the comedic tone. Makes a really good point about morality. Solid, like just entertaining all the way through. Really, really